Welcome to VCR, Vintage Cinema Rewind. We're bringing old movies to new viewers. I'm Blake.
I'm going to tell my kids this was Bonnie and Clyde.
I knew you beat me to it.
Yeah, well, it's right there.
Yeah, this is basically a Bonnie and Clyde adjacent movie.
Yeah, or like I think an alternate title should have been like Ferdinand's midlife crisis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're talking Pierrot le Fou, which is Pierrot the Fool in English.
Womp womp.
Yeah, it's part of our Anna Karina series, 2 episodes here. We talked about Alphaville last week, movie that I really loved.
I was okay with it.
Yeah, and it's also a Jean-Luc Goddard movie, which French New Wave, like you and I kind of exploring that for the first time. You might have done it in a previous history class before or something. But
that was too long ago.
Yeah.
That was a different man.
Yeah, for me, this is like my first actual 2 approaches to Goddard. And I will say, before we were recording, I said that I'm glad that we did Alphaville first, because this movie would have felt really alienating to watch.
This movie can be a little alienating, especially if you're going in cold.
Yeah.
But,
I definitely have some stuff prepared. Like, we're doing the primer episode right now, spoiler free. I definitely have some stuff prepared that I'm you kind of have to know going in.
Yeah.
That I almost wish that I knew going in. There was stuff in the research where I was like, oh, that makes way more sense now.
Yeah, no, I know, right? And it's not exactly the movie's fault. It's just, it's been almost 80 years.
Well, that and there's a little bit of language barrier stuff too. So, yeah, we'll get into it. It's so basically this is a road trip movie almost is the closest I can call it.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. It is definitely a road trip movie. I just want to say before we get into it that actually what the hardest for me, the most difficult part about digesting this movie was not the actual film watching.
Yeah.
It was just getting my grubby little hands on it.
This is the thing about this movie is it's almost not a movie.
No, I think I think I'm speaking quite literally.
Yeah.
So this movie is only available is only available to rent on Apple, and I remember I texted you a few days ago, where did you find this movie? You're like, it's on Apple. I'm like, no, it isn't. Where is it? And then I couldn't find it on my phone. Then I pulled up my laptop, and I'm like, oh, there it is. So I tried to purchase it, and it's you need to register your Apple account. And I was like, So then I went into my email, and I scrolled back 12 years. I'm like, okay, I did make an Apple account 12 years ago.
I was going to say, I messaged you. I was like, how have you literally never created an Apple account in your life?
Well, I kept trying to make one, and it kept rejecting me. So then I went to my email, and I'm like, okay, right, because I remember Louis C.K.'s show, Louis? I remember buying those episodes off Apple TV when I was 20, which is 13 years ago now. Then I had to reset my password, log in, download the app, and then I'm like, okay, I'm like, guys, I just want to rent this movie. So I go to click on it, and it's this device is not registered. At that point, I was seriously just I wonder if I could bluff my way through this podcast. I wonder if I could just lie my way through it without Blake noticing. Anyways, I just want everyone at home to know the ordeal I subjected myself to.
You know what's hilarious?
What?
I think I just found this movie in full on YouTube.
Fuck. Are you kidding?
Let me see. Oh, no. It's I don't know what somebody did to it, but it's horrible.
I think I might know what you're talking about, too, because I was trolling YouTube, because, sometimes old movies are just on there, and nobody cares enough to report it.
Yeah.
So anyways, yeah.
Yeah, not the most accessible movie ever, although it is one of, Goddard's most famous movies.
I believe it. I did enjoy this movie. It was fun.
Yeah, it's got something to it that, again, it kind of feels like you have to have already approached Goddard to understand this movie. Because, watching this movie, I was like, oh, he's got, a universe going on here.
There's a really interesting, party scene early in this movie where, he plays with lighting in a certain way where certain frames are just completely washed out in one color without them really changing scenery.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting.
And even approaching this movie, I would say that there's times when it's just borderline incomprehensible what's happening, but I was never bored during it.
Yeah, absolutely. Even the ending, which I'm sure we'll get to.
Oh, absolutely.
I was like, wow.
Yeah, it like I would say this movie is honestly like less of a movie and more of like a work of art. Like it doesn't feel like a typical film.
No, it's almost kind of, and I think that's sort of my weakness sometimes is that I'm very structure oriented.
Yeah.
Where I'm just like, okay, that's an act break. Now we're doing this. So we're setting up that. With this movie, I was just kind of like, imagine me like walking into a job site with my tools and it turns out they're actually just building clay sculptures. And I'm just like, what am I even looking at? Right. It is funny though. There's like, especially at the end of this movie, there's a long scene where not Ferdinand has a long conversation with this older man who's clearly in distress. And it goes on for a long time. And you're just kind of like, what is this? Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, there's a lot of moments like that, I will say.
Yeah. So anyways, do you want me to jump into a plot summary?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so Ferdinand is an aging dude who used to work in television advertising but got fired. And he's in a very unhappy marriage to a wife that just doesn't understand him. So one night he goes out to a party, has a really bad time, comes home and realizes that the babysitter his wife hired is actually his ex-girlfriend. So while driving her home, he sort of just impulsively decides to run off with her.
Right.
Which I guess you could just do back in the day, right? So, and what follows is a really strange series of misadventures as these two, like, commit crimes, hide from the authorities, obscure their tracks, fake their deaths, and just kind of, they're kind of just like, I watched this with Sarah, my girlfriend, and I looked over to her at one point and said, these two are just, it's almost like they're embracing the worst parts of each other.
Right.
You know? So
the worst parts, but also like there's other aspects of it. Like Ferdinand is kind of an aspiring writer, right?
Yeah.
And
he's not great at it.
No, but he takes this kind of time to kind of work on that passion that he has.
You kind of I caught myself identifying with him a little because the first thing we see him doing is he's reading this really weird tome to his children, and he's constantly reading, and you know, he talks about getting laid off or fired from his TV advertising job, and it's clearly, at least in his mind, it was beneath him.
Right.
So, you know, he's kind of this aging, frustrated artist.
Yeah, and I kind of get it too, right? Like he has this kind of passion for reading and books and poetry, and he almost like disassociates with the rest of the world at points in time to like really hyper fixate on this his interest,
the art stuff. Yeah. Like there's multiple moments where Marianne, his sort of partner in crime / girlfriend, is like complaining about how much he's reading, and he's just like, I gotta read. So anyways,
yeah, honestly, that's a pretty good plot summary. Like the plot is not the focus in this movie. By any means. It's more just the artistry of film, I would say. Yeah,
I'm inclined to agree with that. There is, in the beginning, he meets a stranger at a party who's a director.
Yeah, and a real life director too.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And they have a kind of an interesting back and forth about what film is.
Yeah.
And I think the director kind of, if I'm remembering it correctly,
I have the quote because it's one of my favorite quotes in the movie.
Okay, you go.
So it's Samuel Fuller is the director in it, and the quote that he has that I think you're going to say is because Ferdinand asks him like what movies are about, like what he's making, and like you know what he sees in film. And Samuel Fuller says, "Film is like a battleground. There's love, hate, action, violence, death. In one word, emotion."
Yeah, that's the quote I was thinking of.
Yeah,
and that's kind of a nice little thesis statement for the movie.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like this movie is very meta and self-referential. Like it knows that it's a movie. There's fourth wall breaks.
Yeah,
multiple of them.
Yeah, and like they're spread out enough that you kind of forget about them. But there is a great scene where Ferdinand and Marianne are arguing, and he turns and looks behind him, and she's like, "What are you looking at?" He's like, "The audience."
Right.
And I was like,
there's some really good moments like that. Like again, there's these. It's a movie full of like moments that make you go, "Huh." Like that's kind of cool. I've never really seen that in a movie before.
You're like, okay,
yeah,
sure.
And so I think I'm gonna skip the characters and people you may know and circle back to that. I kind of want to talk about who this movie is for.
Yeah, let's do it.
Because I think this movie is like somewhat impenetrable. Like it's like Jean-Luc Goddard is uncompromising in his style.
Yeah, he's very that.
And so, like, honestly, I don't think this is a movie for most people. I don't think this is a movie this movie might not be for anybody except for Jean-Luc Goddard.
Yeah, him and him alone.
Yeah. But in that appeal, like, there's something interesting in the fact that, like, there's, like, it's a literal artist who is just, like, putting, like, something, like, very passionate that they're super interested in. Like, you know, like, if you're interested in that kind of vibe, like, if you're somebody who would, like, go and see like some offbeat stand-up comedian that you think is really funny and like really like charismatic and unique, or if there's like, you know, if you're somebody who likes to go and see like, you know, go to an art gallery or something like that, like it takes like a certain type of person to be able to crack into this movie.
Yeah, it's kind of like, and now it's not completely incoherent. Like there there are characters, so to speak, but like it's almost kind of like a Picasso painting.
Yeah.
As opposed to like a Norman Rockwell painting.
Yeah. And we were talking about this before. Like, this movie is something that you can't approach as your first Goddard movie, I don't think, either.
No, not as your first movie, certainly.
If
aliens invaded and we showed them this movie, they would turn back.
Yeah. This is 8.5.
Yeah, basically.
Like, it just is so bizarre and non-linear almost, in a sense, that I'm glad we watched Alphaville first, because I would have just been so lost in this movie. And like I think my brain would have constantly been fighting like, what is this? What is this?
What is this? What is this? What are we doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think as well, like the other kind of pitch that I'll make to this is I think that if you're somebody who can kind of like latch on to directors who have like particular styles, like Wes Anderson comes to mind, very, very contemporary Ari Aster also comes to mind as somebody who like you might not love, you might even hate a lot of his movies, but there's just like something about them that like really draws you in.
There's a very specific hand steering the ship.
Yes.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah. So like I think that those two directors were the two that kind of came to mind right now for me, that were like, you know, like if that's something that appeals to you, and for me that does. Like I haven't gone and seen Eddington yet, but I have watched all of Ari Aster's movies. I've watched his short film, and like I'm not sure that I even really loved any of his movies necessarily. Like none of them are going to be on my top 100, which we're doing in a couple weeks.
Oh, I've got one on my list. And
that's fair.
And I think you know what it is.
Yeah, I would know which one it would be. But
no, it's funny. Like I didn't even like Beau is Afraid that much, but I was kind of like, yeah, I'd watch it again. Like,
it's like, oh, there's something there. Like it's so fascinating seeing somebody work like this. And I think as well, this is kind of my Wes Anderson side of things. Wes Anderson didn't click for me for a long, long time.
Okay,
and then there was kind of one movie where it all just like snapped into focus, and I was like, oh, I get it now. I get why there's so much appeal to this guy and like the movies that he's making. And I'm glad that we watched Alphaville first, because Alphaville was like my kind of Jean-Luc Goddard movie.
Yeah, that was a great entry point for Blake.
Yeah,
you know, this is what he can latch on to.
Yeah, because like in this movie, there's a lot of familiarity to that. There's like this in-house universe that Goddard is building that I really appreciated, and was like, oh, that's a cool callback, or like, oh, like this is just like some fixation that this director has, right?
Yeah.
That I like, you know, you kind of start to get and understand, and that was the same thing with Wes Anderson. I was like, oh, this is a person who's like really interested in how stories are told, basically, right?
Wes Anderson is a good point of comparison, because there is quite a lot of that in there. Like, where he talked about the conversation with the director. There's a great scene later on where the two main characters throw what is probably the worst play in recorded history.
I can't wait to talk about that.
Just to make some money. And I'm like, wow, okay. So, yeah, a lot of crazy shit.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think this movie is probably not for you, honestly, if you're listening to this podcast. Like,
I thought you were talking to me specifically.
It probably wasn't for you either.
No, it wasn't. But I didn't mind it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the ride.
Yeah. So, yeah, this is weird. Very rarely will I say, like, this movie isn't for you, but also I loved it. So
fuck off. But fuck off. But if you decide to come in,
yeah, I guess the other thing I'll speak to about like why I personally liked it, apart from like, you know, the Wes Anderson, Ari Aster kind of connections, was, the performances of this in this movie, like, and we'll circle back right now to the characters and people may know. Like, this movie stars Anna Karina as Marianne.
Yeah.
And
this, I feel like this started off as actress month, but it sort of just became Jean-Luc Goddard month.
Well, no, but I want to speak to Anna Karina as well.
Okay, sure.
I think that she's like absolutely electric. Like, she's become kind of, I think, in my opinion, one of the best actresses I've ever seen on film. Like,
it's quite inspiring. Actually, the two leads are both really good.
Incredible. And I was also going to like speak to Jean-Paul Belmondo. Like, he wasn't somebody I'd ever heard of, and the reason for that is because he actually refused to do English-speaking movies. Like, Hollywood for a couple decades was like trying to get him to come into the Hollywood machine, and he turned all of them down. But over his career, like, I guess he was compared to like James Dean, Marlon Brando, and Bogart even. So
yeah, I mean, he's kind of got all three of them meshed together, doesn't he?
Yeah, like he's a very charismatic guy. Like, both him and Anna Karina are like electric in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, you've probably seen Friends in these types of relationships where you're just like, yeah, I believe it, right?
Yeah.
Like, he plays kind of an aging frustrated artist, and you believe it.
Yeah.
On every frame.
Well, and here's the thing is, like, he's extremely charismatic, and he's a character that, like, I had absolutely no problem following in this movie, but he's also kind of like he's kind of an idiot, right? Like, he's kind of he's kind of a goober. Like,
he's kind of a dirtbag, like,
yeah.
And I'm sure, like, I've met plenty of people like this. Maybe I've even been someone like this in the past, but, like, clearly smart and talented, but nowhere near as smart or talented as he thinks he is.
Exactly.
Yeah, more ego than talent.
Yeah, but there is something still there where it's like, oh, like, you know what? I kind of would want to be friends with a guy like this.
Kinda, yeah. Maybe a friend that you see, like, quarterly as opposed to, like, monthly,
That you would get into, like, crazy shenanigans with.
Yeah, the kind of friend that, like, your wife wouldn't want you hanging out with.
Yeah. That's exactly. And same with Marianne, right? Like,
yeah.
She and Anna Karina, like I said, she is so electric in this movie. Like, every time she was on the screen, like, you can't take your eyes off of her.
She kind of plays this sort of, like, the darker version of the manic pixie dream girl,
Yeah, like, she made me think of, like, Jennifer Lawrence right now. This is, like, the first actress that kind of popped up to me, where it's like it just a little bit less, like, ditzy maybe than Jennifer Lawrence, but, like,
still pretty ditzy.
Yeah, a little bit.
Well, it's kind of just, she's sort of like this free-spirited agent of chaos, right?
Yeah. That's exactly it.
And it's kind of, you can understand the dynamic because Ferdinand kind of styles himself as the responsible one in the relationship, but he's still doing all this fucked up shit, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, we all know people in those sorts of relationships.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Well, and he, like, Ferdinand is... It's so funny because he's just, like, so calm and collective all of the time that, like, all of this, like, really bad stuff that he does, like, you don't really, like... There's a point in this movie where I was watching it and I was like, oh, this character is actually kind of a dirtbag.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And like, I kind of recognized it, and I was like, I've been thinking about this character as, like, the hero for a long time, but he's kind of just a dirtbag, and, like, Goddard and Jean-Paul have kind of tricked me a little bit.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. I kind of knew he was a dirtbag from the word go, but yeah.
But there's still something about his performance that, like, it just really draws you in.
It definitely does. Like, everybody's fantastic in this movie.
Yeah. So that's kind of one of the major appeals to this movie for me. The other one is that it's shot, like, absolutely beautifully.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is one of the most well-shot movies I've ever seen. There's a frame, and we'll talk about it maybe more in the deep dive, but there's, like, one frame that kind of... I feel like there's... You and I are going to have maybe different frames, but there's one frame for me when they're, like... it's actually right about before they're about to do the play. And there's this, like, really wide shot, and you see, like, the tops of the trees, and they're, like, half their bodies are cut off, and they're just kind of walking along the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, I think I remember that one.
Yeah, there's just so many cool frames where, like, that where you're like, huh, like, I've never really seen that before, and I kind of appreciated it. Like, there's something here.
Okay, yeah, no, it's very well done.
Yeah, and again, like, this being a Jean-Luc Goddard movie, like, there's a very poetic nature to this movie. Like, poetry is kind of an important part of this movie.
Yeah, I did want to talk about the dialogue. Like the dialogue, and I noticed this in last week's movie too.
Mm-hmm.
The dialogue is very well done. Like it's poetic without being overly poetic.
Right.
And that might just be the French in this movie, but
yeah.
you know, like
I mean, if you were to say which movie do you think had the better dialogue between the two?
Actually, you know what? I think Alphaville did.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought this one had the better dialogue.
Okay.
And I liked Alphaville more than this.
Yeah, no.
I mean, and I don't even know if I think objectively, like, I don't know if I like Alphaville more than this, but like subjectively, Alphaville was kind of more up my alley, right?
Yeah, that's more of a Blake kind of story, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I don't know. It's hard to say. I'm still kind of thinking on both of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely fair. Though kind of the one thing I did want to mention kind of before you see this movie, if this is something that appeals to you, this is kind of one of those things where it was like, oh, I kind of wish I knew this before we had watched it. So she calls Ferdinand Pierrot for the whole movie, right?
Right. And he keeps saying, like, my name's Ferdinand.
Yeah, and he's like getting more and more irritated by it.
Yeah.
So it's essentially a nickname, and like I thought it was just like a French name. But it's actually what it means in French is a sad clown.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's kind of like this like sad clown thing from like the Renaissance or something like that. And so she's kind of like mocking him in a sense.
Yeah, she's making fun of him. Okay. Yeah, that was the one thing where I'm like, why does she keep calling him that? Like,
yeah, I thought it was just kind of like this silly like nickname. Like she was like, "Oh, you look more like a Perot to me." Kind
like
of
you
thing.
look more like a Greg.
Yeah, and she just like keeps calling him like this different name, and he's like getting more and more irritated by it. But when you kind of understand that, the context of it becomes a lot more sharp, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's really important in understanding this movie and understanding their relationship is she's kind of mocking him the whole movie.
Yeah, which, I mean, he's quite mockable when you get right down to it, you know?
Yeah, but there's still something there. There's still something charismatic where you're like, huh, this guy is really interesting.
Yeah, I'd follow. I'd probably buy his book. It's probably not great, but I'd buy it.
Uh-huh. You could listen to that guy like talk or you could watch, you could follow that guy.
You know what? In another life, these two had a very terrible podcast with hundreds of thousands of listeners.
Mm-hmm.
Millions even.
Yeah. I think as well, like this movie, it's meta in like breaking the fourth wall kind of sense, but I think also I was kind of reading up on Goddard and Anna Karina at this point in time, and their relationship was really on the rocks at this point. Like, I think they were actually in the middle of divorce in this.
Okay, yeah, you can see it.
Yeah.
You can see it.
There's some really heavy themes that I think he's bringing in here. Like, and almost like, I think at points, like, he's almost accusing Anna Karina of things.
Yeah, like okay, that, you know what? I do wish I'd known that before going into it.
Yeah.
You know, because I have to say, like, as weird as this movie is, there's a real... like their relationship is kind of the emotional anchor of it and like how toxic it is.
Right.
You know, like there's even moments where, so he runs away and then like fakes his death, right?
Yep.
There's even moments where Marianne gets to him. She's like, you're thinking about your wife again, aren't you? And I'm like, what? You mean the woman I was married to for like 10 years and had children with who I just abandoned? Yeah, I'm thinking about her, you know? Yikes.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a lot there, and I think that kind of understanding that,
and even
makes us...
like how they act like they hate each other, but like when, spoiler alert, I guess, when they finally do separate, Ferdinand is like absolutely inconsolable,
right?
And he's moving heaven and earth to get her back,
right? Yeah. So yeah, I think that's kind of the appeal to me. I don't know if there's any other like, you know, whether or like not this appeals to anybody else.
I think we covered it pretty well. Everything else I have left, I think we should save for the deep dive.
Okay,
but
sounds good.
Yeah, no, it's you know, if you want to relive your turbulent college romances, I'd pop this movie on.
I mean, yeah, and like to say whether this movie holds up or not, like it's kind of timeless in a sense. Like there's some old-timey aspects to this movie, but because of the way that it's filmed, because it's like it's so artist-centered and focused, like
so arty,
yeah, it kind of becomes timeless in that sense, right?
Yeah, kind of. And because of the tone is so fantastical, it does kind of like, you're just kind of like, all right, like,
yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
So it's evergreen in that sense.
Yeah, it's evergreen, but it probably isn't for you.
No, it's probably not for you, you know? Imagine that. You know, if they ever re-release this on DVD and we become famous film critics, it'll just be like, this isn't for you, Michael and Blake.
Yeah.
One middle finger, straight up.
Yeah, that's a good way to kind of cap that off.
Yeah, really.
So, when to watch? I think the Sunday afternoon is kind of like the best time to watch this. You have to be fully locked in.
Yeah, this is definitely an afternoon movie. I watched it in the afternoon with my partner, and I was like, okay, yeah.
You got to have some patience too for it, right? Like,
yeah, I will say, like, as timeless as the subject matter is, like, you know, especially if you're more comfortable watching contemporary media, which, I mean, of course you are, like, you really have to be patient.
Yeah.
It starts off pretty fast, but then and you have to understand that it's a road movie. It's more like a series of vignettes than anything else.
That's a good way to put it.
And, you know, if you can vibe with it, if you can pass the vibe check, you're going to have a good time.
Yeah.
But again, it's not for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So fuck off. If you're comfortable with the fact that this movie isn't for you, then it's for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In that paradoxical nature.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm super interested to see if we get any comments about this one. Because I'd love to see what other people got out of this, because I personally felt like I got a lot out of this.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to talk about this in the deep dive next week.
Okay, yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
Next week.
Next week.
So
as always, tell your dad not to watch this one.
Don't
Because your dad will hate this movie.
I wonder if we're ever gonna watch a movie where we're both just like, yeah, fuck this movie. I think the closest we got with that was what was it? The Mutant Pigs anime, Princess Mononoke.
Oh yeah,
That's the closest one where we were both kind of just like,
wasn't for us.
Yeah, so
yeah, I try my best to pick movies, like to get the list of movies that you and I are gonna watch down to like something that at least one of us is gonna appreciate.
And sometimes it doesn't happen.
Yeah,
sometimes
Mononoke was a surprise. I genuinely surprised that neither of us really kind of connected with it, but no, this one's interesting. So we'll see you next week.
Yeah, fuck off.